Data sufficiency. The old school approach. Probably out of all the math you have done in your entire pre-GMAT life, the goal has been to find the answer. In grade school math, high school math, and introductory college mathematics, you are tested and graded on your ability to find the specific numerical answer to a question. If you happen to have gotten any advanced degrees in mathematics, you know that find the answer mentality as well as numbers in general quickly recedes as you ascend into the realms of higher mathematics. For the vast majority of people, all of us who did not choose to get college or graduate degrees in abstract mathematics, the last math that we learned prior to encountering GMAT studies in all likelihood still revolved around find the answer. Let's go beyond find the answer. GMAT data sufficiency requires you to shift your paradigm. Fundamentally, in the data sufficiency questions, unlike in your previous math classes, you are not being asked to find the answer. Rather, you are simply being asked the question, do you have enough information to answer the question? In other words, if you wanted to or had to figure out the answer, would you have enough information to do so? Managerial mindset. Why does the GMAT ask data sufficiency questions? First of all, data sufficiency tests your ability to gauge relevance. If I want to know A, is it relevant to know B? It's certainly conceivable that in the real business world, if you want to know the price or cost or value of one thing, it will be important to be able to figure out whether knowing the price or cost or value of another thing would be relevant. At a deeper level, think of the difference of these two questions. What is the actual answer to problem X versus do we have enough information to answer problem X? The first question may involve specific expertise, depending on the nature of the problem, and may well be delegated to, for example, an engineer. The second question is more the manager's question. The manager who sees that the problem can be solved and delegates it appropriately. Insofar as you are planning to take the GMAT and go to business school, you are planning a career as a manager, which is all about delegating, about decision making, about discerning what paths are fruitful for exploration and what paths don't merit examination. In this sense, I would argue that GMAT data sufficiency tests skills that are at the very heart of what it is to be a powerful and effective manager. If you are new to this question type, take heart. It will take a little practice to familiarize yourself with the format. But once you gain experience, you will see that GMAT data sufficiency is no harder than ordinary problem solving. In some cases, it's considerably easier. Let us look at the general strategy for data sufficiency questions. There are two types of data sufficiency questions. This is the first thing to appreciate. We have yes no prompts and value questions. Examples for yes no prompts are as follows. Does x is equal to 6? Is t less than 7? Is angle ABC a right angle? Is m at least 70% of n? And value questions. What is the value of x? What does t equal? They're more like what? What is the measure of angle ABC? M is what percent of n? So that these questions try to derive the value. When answering a DS question, the first thing to determine is whether it is a yes, no, or value question, because the nature of the task is very different in either case. A yes no question, by definition, has only two possible answers, while a value question, before constraints are applied, typically has an infinity of answers. In value questions, the most important thing is don't overcalculate. Let us look at an example. What is the value of 1 over x plus 4? Statement 1 given is 4.375x minus 6.25 is equal to 11.25. Statement 2, 1 over x plus 8 minus 1 over 48 is equal to 1 over 16. Many people will spend way too long on this question, which can be answered in about 10 to 15 seconds. First of all, the prompt. In order to find the value of 1 over x plus 4, we would need to find the value of x. So really, the question, what is the value of 1 over x plus 4 is, from a sufficiency standpoint, entirely equivalent to the question, what is the value of x? When we can answer either question, we would be able to answer the other. So, which statement allows us to solve for x? Statement 1 is a one variable equation which, when solved, will have a unique answer for x. Done. We don't need to solve. All we need to do is determine, could we solve? We could solve for x, so statement 1 is sufficient. Statement 2 is similarly a one variable equation which, when solved, will have a unique answer for x. Done. Again, we don't need to solve. We could solve for x, so statement 2 is sufficient. Both of the statements are tricky equations, and if someone undertook to solve them for the value of x, that would easily eat 5 to 10 minutes for a question that should take well under a minute. It's not to find the answer to the target question, but merely to determine whether you could find the answer. You should always remember this. In yes no questions, be very careful. Let us look at this highly simplified data sufficiency question. Does x is equal to 5? Statement 1 given is 5x is equal to 15. Statement 2 is x plus 1 is equal to 4. You are trying to answer the sufficiency question. Does each statement give sufficient information to determine a definitive answer to the prompt question? If you can answer with a definitive yes, then you have sufficient information. But if you can answer with a definitive no, you also have sufficient information. Some people confuse a no answer to the prompt question with a no answer to the sufficiency question. Here, it's clear from both statements that x is equal to 3, that it in fact does not equal 5. So, the answer for both statements is a clear no. That's the answer to the prompt question. Because we were able to get a clear answer to the prompt question from each statement, that means each statement individually was sufficient. An affirmative answer to the sufficiency question in both cases, and we get the answer. For yes no questions, you are looking for a definitive answer, a clear yes or a clear no. Any statement that allows you to determine a clear answer of any sort to the prompt question is sufficient. Consider the statements individually. The strategy holds for both types of prompt questions, yes no questions and value questions. If one of the two statements is considerably more complex, often the test maker will put the statement first. Why? Suppose you start considering the implications of statement 1 and you do a number of calculations or deductions concerning it. When you are done considering statement 1 by itself, there will be a natural tendency to make the mistake of carrying some or all of that work with you into statement 2. When you consider statement 1, you must consider it by itself. Just the prompt question and statement 1, nothing else. When you consider statement 2, you must consider it by itself. Just the prompt question and statement 2, nothing else. If you spend a good deal of time or energy on statement 1, it might be helpful to go back, read just the prompt, and then jump to statement 2 to remind yourself, now that I am considering statement 2, I must completely forget statement 1 and all its implications. The only time you consider both statements together is after you have determined each statement by itself on its own is insufficient. At that point, you are trying to determine whether the answer is another one. Then and only then can you combine the information from both statements. But the first consideration has to be considering each statement alone by itself on its